In studio with New York Times best-selling author John Gilstrap.
Good morning.
Also retired firefighter safety engineer. Former member of the House of Delegates. He was once the Deputy Revenue Secretary of the state of West Virginia, Mr. John Doyle.
Good morning.
Great to have you both here. This is a wonderful time of the year, by the way.
It is a wonderful time of the year. Before we leave the whole Apple thing, I just wanted to share that bit of history about John Chapman, Johnny Appleseed. We all know the story from our childhood. Johnny Appleseed is usually represented as this kind of Ichabod Crane, kind of tall, skinny guy with the sack of seeds. He was actually spreading sprigs off of other apple trees that he got from cider mills. He was not spreading apples to be eaten. He was spreading apples to be turned into hard cider and Applejack, which was an alternative to contaminated water out in the frontier. So it's kind of a...
Fresh, clean drinking water was a challenge for most of life.
It was. It poisoned a lot of people.
Right. So alcohol became the alternative to drinking water because, generally speaking...
That's why all the Greek athletes that participated in the original Olympic Games up near Mount Olympus drank wine all the time.
Sure.
Because the water was so darn dirty.
The water's dirty. You can't drink it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why alcohol came around. At least that's the story we're going with.
And that's why it stuck around long after we had purified water. No, wait.
You got to do what you got to do on the frontier.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. All right, it's that time of the program where we have both of our co-hosts here, John Doyle, John Gilstrap, face off against each other with topics of their choosing most of the time. Now, last week, Mr. Doyle went first. So this week, it's Mr. Gilstrap's option. Okay.
I really, really want to move on from political violence, but the news cycle won't let me. We have... Over and over again, it seems like the political left, I don't want to say Democrats because that hoovers up too many people. But so I'll say the political left can't get over the fact that Donald Trump is president of the United States and he was elected on a platform of deportation of illegal aliens. And, you know, we're seeing this violence in the streets preventing federal agents from enforcing federal law. And we're seeing the civilian law enforcement agencies forbidden, it seems, from protecting the federal agencies from doing the DEA, the ICE agents from doing their jobs. So now we're seeing the National Guard being mobilized, which is a whole different thing. I'm not entirely comfortable with this, but there seems to be this celebration of violence against the ICE agents. And we're now using words like fascist. We're using words like Hitler. We're using words that are all dog whistles for, remember, it's the classic dorm room philosophical argument that if you go back to 1937 and kill Adolf Hitler, would you be a hero or not? And I think this is where the language is going when we're talking about conservatives, and we're talking about Donald Trump in particular. I think this is where Charlie Kirk was killed. His killer is now being celebrated in some circles. I have been receiving one of our listeners sent me a deconstruction of Charlie Kirk's autopsy report and how it was completely fabricated, but in fact, the autopsy report hasn't been released yet. So, there's crazy stuff that's going on. Brian Thompson was killed, the United Healthcare executive, and people are finding justification for that guy, the Mangione guy. Abigail Spanberger, Virginia gubernatorial candidate, urges her supporters to let your rage fuel you. Now, here's what actually tipped this over, is Jay Jones, Virginia candidate for Attorney General, said of the Virginia Speaker of the House, Todd Gilbert, in 2022, I believe. And it's written down. This is a quote. 3 people, 2 bullets. Gilbert, Hitler, and Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. And then he went on to say that Gilbert and his wife were breeding little fascists and that he hoped the children would die and that the Gilberts could hold the dead bodies and feel the agony of the loss. This is a guy that's running for attorney general. Now, you get to say what you want to say, and the Democrats are supporting him in Virginia, and they're making excuses for him in Virginia. I am just really disturbed at where we're going with this. Actions have consequences. Words have meaning. People, there are crazy people out there, right? When Melissa Hortman and her husband were killed in Minnesota, the House of Representatives unanimously condemned the violence of that. After Charlie Kirk was killed, close to 100, over 90 Democrats could not bring themselves to condemn the murder. We got to tone it down. We just have to tone it down. And John, there's I don't know where that leader comes from the left.
Okay. I remember about, maybe 3 years ago, a right-wing Republican congressman from Arizona, I think it was Andy Biggs, but I don't want to nail that down because there was another male from Arizona who was just as MAGA. One of the two of them published or posted a video that showed Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, one of their colleagues in the House, being murdered. And very few Republicans condemned that. Listen, Jay Jones should pull out of the race. No question about it. Now, I don't think the Republicans want him to, because him being in the race is driving up their turnout right now, and they know that. So they want to say they want him out of the race, but they don't want him out of the race. The Democrats would just love for him to drop out. The interesting thing is it isn't just that there's too much. Incidentally, in terms of fascist, Donald Trump regularly calls Democrats fascist. If he can call me a fascist, I can call him a fascist, which I have refused to do. But there is too much of this. I agree with you there. And I commend you for your colleague Gilstrap for your diligence in researching all of these transgressions by Democrats. I should probably be more diligent in trying to research all the transgressions by Republicans. And no, it's all bad, and we got to do away with it. Yeah, what Jay Jones said was unacceptable. It was horrific. It was an anathema to our politics, and he should pull out.
So how do we break the cycle? And I agree. I don't, and it could be selective, not selective hearing, selective sight, I guess. If you take January 6th out, right?
Why would you take it out?
Because I want to make a larger point.
All right.
I don't remember a single right-wing riot. I don't remember right-wing, or they're going to say Republicans, but I'm going to do right versus left. I don't remember a right-wing riot. I don't remember Portland didn't burn because of that. Minneapolis didn't burn because of that. Washington didn't burn because of that. These all seem to be driven by the left and the political leadership of those left-leaning cities seem to make excuses for the rioters, and they call it mostly peaceful protests. And the reason I take January 6th out of it is because nothing burned, and you know what I mean? It was a different,
some things got destroyed.
But it was a different kind of riot. We'll call it a riot if you want to call it a riot. But
it was.
I guess that's my point. That it seems to me that the left is out of ideas and are panicking, and it's like when you get into an argument with somebody, and all they've got left is to lash out with violence because they don't have a counter argument, and which sounds like more of a or maybe it is an accusation. But these guys, specifically when it comes to the ICE agents, they're enforcing the law. If you don't like the law,
in many cases, they're doing more than that.
By the way, Ken Madsen
American
suggested
citizens.
Charlottesville as an example of right-wing uprising.
Yeah.
John?
That was a long time ago. I don't remember the details. I do remember that was over statues, as I recall.
The
guy ran his car into the crowd
and killed one person. But the big thing was the parade of people, right-wingers saying Jews will not replace us, carrying those tiki torches. Yeah, thank you, Rob. Yeah, I had not thought of that.
Thank Ken.
I think it's all got to go. Mm-hmm. And I do think you are looking at this selectively.
And then it all comes down to enforcing the laws.
Yeah.
It all means that you dispel rioters. No matter what their cause is, you dispel rioters. Can we just agree on that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Then we'll solve, you and me, we'll run. We'll take care of this.
I think we probably could, yeah.
Right.
9 minutes, you solved the political violence problem. Well done. That should get a Nobel Peace Prize. Mr. Doyle.
I want to talk about battleships.
It's like my battleship.
Our president wants to bring back battleships. Now, here's the deal. First of all, as Socrates famously said, if you would argue with me, you must first define your terms. Now, I know that the two of you here in the studio with me know what a battleship is. There are a number of people who are not familiar with the military who think the term battleship means any ship that fights. No, the overall term for ships that fight is warship. A battleship is a particular type of warship, and it was developed when about 150 years ago when we switched from the wooden navy to the steel navy. And the battleship was the biggest ship with the biggest guns and the thickest armor on the side. And they really are descendants of ships, of the wooden ships that were referred to as ships of the line. And that was, and the term battle line came from the fact that these ships would just stand apart from each other under sail and pound away at each other until one of them either surrendered or sank. And the term battle line came from the fact that often there would be a line of ships from one country passing a line of ships from the other country, and they just pound away at each other. The most famous being the Battle of Trafalgar in 1807, which prevented Napoleon Bonaparte from invading England. Anyway, the term comes from ship of the line of battle, which was also called line of battle ship. This is where battleship came from. It made sense before air power. Air power eliminated the battleship as a principal means of trying to defeat your enemy. They're just worthless. They became, even by the end of World War II, they became really just floating gun platforms to aid in landings in the Pacific. They would pound the shore defenses. We got missiles to do that now. We got missiles from submarines. We got planes from aircraft carriers. And I suggest that before too long, the aircraft carrier may go the way of the battleship because air refueling has become so effective that you can now have airplanes that have 20,000-mile ranges. So anyway.
And then the drone may replace all of that.
That's exactly right. So anyway, I think... battleships are one other point I wanted to make, and I keep condemning the West Virginia Division of Culture and History for this. The term battle line warfare began with the defeat of the Spanish Armada. That's the first time that ships had used guns to fire at each other. The last engagement of battleship to battleship was at the Battle of Surigao Strait in 1944, when an American group of battleships called the Bombardment Squadron, because everybody presumed they wouldn't be fighting battleships anymore, ended up without any air cover and encountered a Japanese line. And all of the Japanese ships had been sunk or disabled except for one battleship, IMS Yamasiri. And up against this line of about a half a dozen American ships, which were Pearl Harbor survivors, all of them, California, Tennessee, Maryland. West Virginia and Maryland were the only two ships that had the 16-inch guns. West Virginia was the only ship that had the modern radar. The Americans held off beyond the range of Yamasiri's 14-inch guns, and West Virginia kept pounding away using its radar. Maryland would follow, and Yamasiri was sunk. Actually, a destroyer came in and fired torpedoes. They had abandoned ship. That was the last time a battleship had defeated an opposing ship of the line in combat, probably for all time. And West Virginia Division of Culture and History refers to it as, says the West Virginia sank an enemy ship. I mean, that's like saying Babe Ruth was a baseball player. Anyway, I just wanted to get all that off my chest, and that's why I took the opportunity to do that. Thank you, President Trump, for advocating bringing back battleships.
You are in favor of bringing it? It sounds like you were against it.
No, that's silly.
You were thanking him for giving you the chance to vent.
Yes.
I see. Because it
Yes.
obviously in the setup sounded like you were against.
I'm sorry. Thank you
battleship.
for correcting me.
Yes.
I have to watch myself when I get too emotional about these things. So,
Mr. Gilstrap, I can assume that you were also against bringing back the battleship.
Well, I'd like to do a little role play here, if I could.
yeah.
Permission to speak freely, Mr. President?
I ain't the president.
We're role playing, John. That's the whole thing. Okay.
Oh.
Permission
the
to speak
yes.
freely, Mr. President.
Oh, you're supposed to address me as sir.
Sir. That is the stupidest freaking idea you've ever had, sir. Not only are we not prepared.
You've just been fired.
Not only are we not prepared to build a battleship, sir, we have undone all of the shipbuilding capability to do that, sir. We don't have the tooling anymore, sir. Now, I know, sir, that you also mentioned in that speech, sir, that you think that the current fleet is ugly, sir. Well, I understand, sir, but war fighting is not really about the photo op. It's about being operationally effective.
Everything's about a photo op.
Well, I understand that, sir, but and you mentioned that our current ships are made out of aluminum, sir. Well, that's not actually true, sir, but and that battleships are made out of steel. Well, yes, sir, that is true at the hull, but the decks are made out of wood, sir, and most attacks are coming from the sky now, sir. So if, sir, you look at the battleship Arizona, for example, it had trouble with its wooden decks with old school dumb bombs, sir, and it didn't go. I'm sorry, sir, you're turning red. Could you sit down, sir? I'm really I got permission to speak to you this way. Overall, sir, our ugly ships have a very low radar profile, sir, which kind of makes them invisible, and therefore, sir, their survivability is much better, which increases the lethality, sir, and that's really what the war is about, sir. It's about killing, sir. Please, no, I don't. I'm not ready to go, sir. Please, it's about, sir. It's about killing people and breaking things, sir. So no, I think it's a bad idea, sir. It's a bad idea. The battleship is a bad idea, sir. It's a really bad idea.
You're just as dumb as this advisor of mine that told me when I said these battleships had these 6 inches of steel as walls. The man said, "Sir, you're talking about a cruiser. The battleships had at least 12 inches of thick steel around them." I fired him, and I'm firing you.
And they're double hulled. Now, it's the battleship actually, it played its role.
Yeah.
And there was an optics element to battleships. Those things floated by, and that was actually played a role in Beirut. That was the last time we brought the battleship New Jersey out of mothballs. Reagan did in the era of Beirut to float that into the Middle East because
Wisconsin. No, it was Wisconsin.
Was it Wisconsin?
New Jersey was active in Vietnam.
Okay. But
Yeah.
but to float that off the coast and say, we're big and we're bad and actually pummeled Beirut with the 16-inch guns, if I recall.
Oh, yes.
And they're very effective. So they're hugely expensive. They're actually fairly easy to sink now. It's a bad idea.
All right. Well, that was agreement on battleships.
Yes.
Which I think in the text that went through, we had an idea that would happen
Yeah.
there. So anyway, as you guys were preparing your work for today, yesterday news broke eventually that we may have some type of peace in the Middle East. So your thoughts, John Doyle, on the first part of this. We got about 2 minutes apiece here if you want to comment on Gaza and what you heard yesterday as the news.
Well, I hope it's right. I don't know the details, so and clearly to thoroughly understand it, I would need to know more details than I know now. But I do hope that's correct. And my guess is that if it is true, it's because it's something that the Saudis can sign off on.
Interesting. Mr. Gilstrap.
I think the devil's always in the details on these things. The hardest part is going to be the demilitarization of Gaza, getting these folks to give up their weapons. There is no trust left. There's never been any trust earned. I don't think anything has happened that has changed the commitment to their commitment to the destruction of Israel. And I don't think anything has changed in Israel that would lead them to believe that they should suddenly trust Hamas. So and as long as Hamas is still an entity, the spirit of warfare will still be there. So I think there'll be an uneasy peace. I think the ceasefire is a good thing. There's hope that it will last, but I hope that it will start, that it will exist. I have very little hope that it will last more than a few years.
It was my understanding that it was our position, the American position and the Israeli position, that in order for there to be a ceasefire, that Hamas had to agree to leave. And it is also my understanding that was really the desire of Saudi Arabia, is for Hamas to get the hell out of there. And so I do not think there'll be an agreement unless Hamas is gone.
But you can say, okay, I'm not Hamasian anymore. I don't know what Hamas is, the political party. It's like saying, okay, I'm not a Nazi anymore. I'm not.
But they know who they are.
Republican.
The Saudis know who is Hamas and who isn't.
But just to leave, like physically leave, doesn't take away the movement, right? I mean, it can be. Look at Al Qaeda. They don't have to be in Afghanistan to. They don't have to be in a place to be able to run what they do. So I think.
I believe that Saudi Arabia and Jordan and Egypt want them out
absolutely.
of there.
I think everybody. I think everybody but Hamas and perhaps Iran want to have peace. Iran wants to have their own thing.
Yeah.
But that's the next front.
Yeah. So I don't think you'll have an agreement unless it's something that those three countries say, yeah, this will work.
Yeah, I'd like to know what was promised that we don't know about to make this work, to get this deal going.
I think it had to be something between Trump and Netanyahu.
Mm-hmm. Something had to be promised somewhere. It's remember 1961 and the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? There had to be some kind of promise down the line that you didn't know about to get the Soviets to pull the missiles
Remember, the so-called American proposal is really the Israeli proposal.
Mm-hmm.
It's Netanyahu's idea, and Trump agreed to advance it because they both figured it had a better chance of being successful if it came from Trump than from Netanyahu.
Well, and this is the anti-Trump narrative. It's starting already. You can't give the guy a break. You can't give the guy credit.
Oh, no, this is coming from the Israelis.
Well, of course it is.
Yeah.
But it's. I think it's a very important. Take the politics out of that, the American politics out of it. I think it's potentially a very big deal. I mean, let's hope.
That is
a lot of bloodshed.
8:59. That ends our John on John time. So let's get to the top of the hour break.